Hi everyone, welcome to True Fan Forum. Recently I've been watching some videos that pose the question, which characters in the Marvel Universe would receive which powering from the DC Universe, with accompanying lists and reasons why they chose each character. As I started watching the videos and seeing the comments and hearing about all the lists people made, I started thinking of my own list, my own characters who I think would be good fits for each powering. And so, this video. Now, before I give you my list, let me do a little explanation for people who perhaps aren't big DC fans and don't really understand the powerings. Now, you see, in the DC universe, they have what's called the emotional electromagnetic spectrum, which takes a specific emotion or state of being and ties that with a color. And that color then becomes the source of power for the various lantern cores Green Lantern, Red Lantern, Yellow Lantern, all of them. So, as I was going through my list, I decided I really wanted to make sure that the characters I picked don't just sort of possess that particular emotion, but that they would really be good choices for the particular cores. So I did some research, mostly using my handy dandy but not too light DC Comics Encyclopedia. It's a good book, but like I said, not exactly a real light read. See what I did? Light read because it's heavy. I'm sorry. Anyway, because again, I want to make sure that the characters I pick would be good matches for the various cores whenever possible. Basically, it's sort of like if I was a recruitment officer. So with that out of the way, let me begin my list of who I think in the Marvel Universe would receive the various power rings. Now first, let's go with Green, Will. Now, as I was reading, the Green Lantern Corps not only possess great willpower, they're also beings that are able to defeat great fear. So when I think of people who defeat great fear, I obviously think of the man without fear, Daredevil. Now, in addition to him being basically fearless or whatever, or without fear, he also has extremely great willpower. I mean, when you look at his history, he has been beaten and bloodied and brought to the very edge of despair and destruction multiple times. And yet, no matter how bad things get, no matter how far he's pushed, he always saves himself. He always manages to bring himself back from the brink. Because his will is just so strong. It's probably one of his greatest superpowers, besides his enhanced... It's almost a superpower, basically. Let's see. Also, another character I thought possessed great willpower is Wolverine, everyone's favorite Canadian mutant. Now, for me, his willpower shows in how much he controls and restrains that bloodthirsty animal side of his nature. The side that, even though he does lose control of it sometimes, he does remain in control most of the time. So for me, that shows a great willpower. Let's see now. Next, we have Yellow, Fear. Now, for me, there's a lot of characters in the Marvel Universe that are either really scary or can actually instill fear in others. But my mind just sort of swirled around two particular characters. First is Cletus Cassidy, Carnage. Now for me, first off, he just looks terrifying, which I guess is his whole point. But not only does he look terrifying, he's terrifying because he's just so homicidally insane. I mean, for him, he likes to kill. He kills because he likes it, because it's fun, or because simply he's bored, doesn't have anything else better to do. And I mean, that gleeful bloodlust, that unpredictability that comes of his very nature makes him terrifying. In fact, when you think of his first big storyline, Maximum Carnage, that whole storyline was about him and a bunch of other psychos just causing a reign of terror through New York City. So for me, he would be a really good choice for the Yellow Lantern ring. Another character I think would be a good choice for the Yellow Lanterns is a longtime Fantastic Four villain, the Psycho Man. Now, for those of you who perhaps don't really know who he is, the Psycho Man is a conqueror from the other dimensional microverse, who uses advanced technology to instill specific emotions within people. His favorite emotions to instill are hate, doubt, and fear. So, at quite literally the push of a button, he can make almost anybody terrified. So I think that ability alone would make him a really good choice for the Yellow Lantern Corps. Now, because just as I was thinking about, I started thinking of this really cool storyline that because he is a conqueror, a schemer, a planner, I would kind of see a storyline where he tries to take over the Yellow Lantern Corps, which would be very interesting. Because again, he's a manipulator, a schemer. That's what he does. Again, there's a cool little storyline. Next up, we have Red, Rage. Now, to me, this one was really easy. I mean, when you think of Rage in the Marvel Universe, you think of the Hulk. Because really, he's the embodiment of rage. I mean, Bruce Banner can't change unless he gets angry. And not only that, as they often say in the comics, the madder he gets, the stronger he gets. So since there's really no limit to his rage, there is no limit to his strength. Add all that limitless potential with a power ring. Ooh, I mean, you've got a character, a being who would make Galactus, or Darkseid wet himself. And probably Galactus too. To me, this was a really simple choice and really a no-brainer. Now, next up is Orange, Avarice, Greed. Now, for me, this one was a little tricky because there are a lot of characters that are greedy. A lot of them do what they do because they just want money. But I want to go with someone who's more than just greedy. For me anyway, I want a character who pretty much takes greed to a whole other level, to basically obsessive proportions. And so, really digging deep into my own knowledge of the Marvel Universe and looking online, I came up with two characters I think take greed to that kind of obsessive level that I feel the Orange Lantern should have. First is the Iron Man villain, Mordecai Midas. Now, Mordecai Midas grew up extremely poor in Athens, Greece, and at an early age decided he was going to basically become the richest man in the world. And through I guess his own ambitions, a bit of ruthlessness, and very shady dealings, he did grow up to amass a great deal of power and wealth. Now, what's interesting is that his greed doesn't really extend to money. It extends to other areas, specifically food. He basically became so horribly obese that he couldn't even move without the use of a special exoskeleton. In fact, I believe I read a statistic where they put his weight at about 850 pounds. That's a very big guy. Now, eventually, Mordecai Midas was transformed into a being composed of living gold who had the ability to turn other people and objects into gold with a touch. Which really is no surprise. Come on. The guy is Midas. I'm surprised they didn't come up with that idea right off the bat. But hey, so for me, this guy, shows greed to a really high degree. Another character I think shows that sort of high level of greed is a character named Goldbug, who I believe fought the Hulk and Spider-Man and a few other villains. Now, this guy's basic motive is simple. He's obsessed with gold. His whole deal is gaining as much gold as he possibly can. Come on. The guy named himself Goldbug. And not only that, in his early appearances, he developed a gun that shoots a gold-like substance that becomes extremely hard when it solidifies. So again, to me, that shows an obsessive quality to greed when you name yourself after the object you desire most, and your main gimmick involves that substance. So again, for me, these two characters take greed to an astounding level that I think would make them perfect candidates for the Orange Lantern ring. Okay, next next is Violet, Love, the power source of the Star Sapphires, a group that is pretty much exclusively made up of females. Now, when I think of female characters who embody love, I start to think of Susan Storm Richards, the Invisible Woman. Now, for me, love pretty much is her prime characteristic. It is her prime motivation. In everything she does, love is behind the reasoning. Really, she is really the heart and soul of the Fantastic Four. And again, this love is not only just her main drive, it's also her greatest source of strength. I've read comic books where her love for her family, for her friends, pushes her and enables her to survive and conquer over extremely great odds. Now, also, I have to say that her love is a very, it's a fierce love. I mean, one of the worst things you could do is harm someone Susan Storm Richards loves, especially her children. Children, excuse me. I mean, really, if anybody messes with her children, the Invisible Woman will create an invisible force field and beat that person into a puddle. Again, since the Star Sapphires seem to be made of warrior women, to me she makes that fierce love of hers makes her a good choice for the Star Sapphires. Next, I'm going to go into Indigo, compassion. Now, here's something that I found really interesting. In a lot of the videos and comments I read, people basically get this one wrong. You see, because they pick characters who have great compassion. But the Indigo tribe, as they're known, chooses members who lack compassion. So that's pretty much the exact opposite of what people think. You see, the Indigo tribe was created by famed Green Lantern Abin Sur as sort of a rehabilitation program for like the universe's worst criminals. You see, what happens is a criminal is forced to wear an indigo power ring, which then instills upon them a sense of compassion, which is supposed to make them realize the error of their ways and want to change. Again, for the sole purpose of rehabilitating them. So when I started thinking of characters who lack compassion, who really would be a prime motivator for the Indigo tribe to go after, I thought of one man in particular, the Red Skull. I mean, he is easily one of the most evil characters within the Marvel Universe. I mean, let's face it, the guy is a super Nazi. He would gladly kill millions of people if it served his purposes. I mean, and here's a great example of just how heartless, without compassion, the Red Skull is. When his daughter Sin was born, he wanted her to be executed as a baby because he wanted a son, not a daughter. I mean, come on. If that doesn't show his character, nothing does. So again, for me, he would be a prime target for the Indigo tribe. In fact, I could just see like about a dozen Indigo rings just launching themselves at him, trying to attach himself, and force him to become one of their members. Okay, so that deals with Indigo. Next up we have Blue, Hope. This one, for me, when I think of Hope in the Marvel Universe, I think of two characters. The first is that Sentinel of Liberty, the Star-Spangled Avenger, Captain America. Because let's face it, for decades he has been a source of hope, of inspiration, for not just superheroes, but for people in general. I mean, when times are dark, at its darkest, when everything seems lost, people look to Captain America for hope, for inspiration, for the idea that they can triumph, that good can beat evil. In fact, I remember one issue of a Avengers comic book where it seemed like Captain America was overwhelmed and just so distraught, so overcome with depression, with fear, that it seemed like he lost hope. And that started to scare other Avengers. Of course, him being Captain America, he did not lose hope, but it looked like it, and that's what really scared people. Now, I know a lot of people start commenting about the current state of Captain America, which I really don't want to get into in this video. I might make another video about it, but let me just say, I know what's going on with Captain America, so I really don't want to comment on it, because, again, what's going on with Captain America, for just for me to say this, is he's been manipulated. This is a very... I just don't want to get into it, but let's just say, please don't start commenting on Captain America. I know what's going on. I'm reading the comic books. I might get into that later. Now, another character that I feel exemplifies hope is Professor Charles Xavier, founder of the X-Men. Because when you think of it, it is his dream, his hope for a better future. For a future where humans and mutants can coexist in peace for the betterment for all, that have inspired, I don't know how many X-Men and various mutants and just people within the Marvel Universe. And yeah, it is that hope that drives them, that allows them to conquer even great moments of despair and struggle. So for me, Charles Xavier is another being that I should think exemplifies hope and would be a good fit for the Blue Lanterns. Now, I know the Blue Lantern Corps are basically pacifists, and Captain America and Charles Xavier are not pacifists, but I just feel that their willingness to fight would add a new, interesting dimension to the Blue Lantern Corps and maybe bring that core in another direction, one that is more hands-off and more, willing to fight rather than willing to act instead of react. Okay, now we come to the second to last power ring, Black, Death. Now this one was extremely easy. If picking the Hulk for Red and Rage was easy, then my next choice is also that no-brainer. I pick the Mad Titan Thanos. I mean, this is a character who, he's not only obsessed with death, he is quite literally in love with death. And since this is a comic book universe, death takes on a physical form. I mean, he is so in love with death that for him, eradicating life in an entire galaxy is like giving a bouquet of flowers or a box of chocolates. I mean, his entire purpose in life seems to be pleasing death. So this, for me, he is obviously without a doubt the one person who would be a natural choice for the Black Lantern. Because again, he is pretty much the embodiment of death. Now we come to the final ring, White, Life. And for that, I pick Norrin Radd, the Silver Surfer. Now, I know that as his time as a herald for Galactus, he is his own way responsible for the death of billions of lives, and he does not deny that. However, ever since leaving Galactus' employ, he has become one of the greatest defenders of life in all of Marvel Comics. I mean, he holds life to such a sacredness, such a high degree, that he will not even kill an extremely evil villain. For the Silver Surfer to even contemplate taking someone else's life, there must be absolutely no other choice whatsoever. And even then, when it's clearly the only option he has available, and that killing would save untold millions of lives, he still hesitates. Because again, for him, all life is sacred. So to me, he would embody the White Lantern ring. And also, as an interesting side note, that because the Silver Surfer and Thanos are such long-time bitter enemies, the idea of making them bearers of rings that are such opposites to each other would really be an interesting storyline and interesting fight to see. Now again, this wasn't my main reason for picking the Silver Surfer for the White Lantern ring. It's just sort of a happy accident. Whew, okay folks, I guess that's it. In my own rambling way, that is my list of who I think in the Marvel Universe would deserve the power rings in the DC Universe. So what do you guys think? Do you like my list? Do you hate my list? Do you have other choices? Please feel free to comment. I love seeing the list people come up with and their own choices for who they think deserves the Lantern rings, because it really shows interesting what people get out of their specific characters and what they feel those characters embody or what they believe in. So again, please leave a comment if you like, but again, please be civil. Well, I guess that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and whether in brightest day or blackest night, I'll see you next time.